I'd say about 2 years ago, to be honest. He's been a famous name, and we've been tracking him, I'd say, the last 2 years and following his progression, and felt real comfortable with the work we did and the relationship and knowing the kid and the family. And it's been a pretty long process following him and scouting him.
And then just to follow up, when did you guys decide, hey, he's going to be our pick if he's there at 25?
There was a process to it today. Getting into it 25, bit of a wide net, right? Kind of went in today with about 5 to 6 guys of, hey, what could happen? There's a chance he goes in front of us, obviously. So, kind of down to the wire a little bit. When you're picking at 25 with a bunch of names you like going off in front, kind of had to read and react a little bit.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll go to AJ Cassaville.
Hi guys. Just to you didn't have the second round pick today as a result of Nick Pivetta signing, and I'm wondering if seeing Nick do what he did and kind of what the last three drafts have meant for you guys, last few drafts have meant for you guys, if that all kind of if you took a moment to kind of appreciate your draft strategy and your process strategy, probably more of a question for AJ.
Yeah, I mean, we value the draft a ton, so the picks are worth a lot. And, obviously when we got to this off season, we understood that, hey, with Nick, it came with giving up a draft pick. But we weigh all of the factors in terms of how it affects our big league club, how it affects the future in the drafts. And ultimately, the Pivetta signing, obviously he's had a great first half. He's been a huge part of us being in contention, and, he's pitched very, very well. And, all-star caliber first half for him. So I think that makes it easier. You get into a day like today where you always wish you have 10 picks every day on a day like today. But our group does a great job. I think we're very resourceful in how we make our dollars work. And, every year there's good players and there's good players all the way throughout the draft. We preach a complete 20-round draft, and even missing that second round pick, I know Chris and his group does such a good job. I know we're going to end up with a lot of players that are going to end up being very valuable for the Padres here down the road.
Chris, what can you tell us about Kruz, who he is as a guy, as a competitor, as a player?
Yeah, very focused, extreme hard worker. His routines are dialed. One of the smartest players I think I've scouted in the last few years, being with San Diego. Just his history of work ethic, focus level, wanting to learn, and he competes at a real high level. So, 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year, two-way guy, and he's got a great swing. He can just do a lot of things we love.
What about him makes you say that he's one of the smartest players? Was there any specific moment or any specific thing that stands out there?
Just listen to him go through his routines. We had an in-home visit with him, watching him kind of explain his year out month by month, day to day. Just the way he goes about his process is on another level than most kids his age.
I think also, AJ, he's a guy that, in all the homework we've done, he's just somebody that's super dedicated and loves the game of baseball. So, he's worked out with Sean Reynolds, Terry Skubal. He's his family, it was a host family for minor league players. So he's been around guys, I believe, like Altuve and Kyle Tucker, and the list goes on and on. So he saw not just star players. He's been around guys, at all different levels. His brothers, somebody on that 12U, 13U circuit, that's, one of the top players in the country. It's a baseball family. They love it. And he's very, very diligent in his work. And all you have to do is sit down and talk to him for a few minutes. And he's somebody that's super prepared and knows what he wants to do, very focused, but is also a kid and likes to have fun. And, you can see that on the field in his high school game. So it was a nice combination for us as somebody that's very dedicated and very focused with a good baseball family and has a great mind, but also, there's a lot of upside and potential. A guy that loves having fun playing baseball.
Offhand, do you know what they were a host family for? What team? What minor league team?
The Hillsboro Hops.
Nice.
Let's go to Jeff Sanders.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned his swing. You called him as a pitcher. What are the chances that he might swing the bat? I know he'd like to.
No, he's going to go out as a pitcher only. One thing with Kruz, he understands his fastest route to the big leagues will be as a pitcher only. But it was something we were prepared for. We had a two-way packet plan for him if that was the route he wanted to go. But after talking with Kruz, he understands his fastest track to Petco Park will be pitching only. So we'll be going that route.
Tell me about the stuff that you're dreaming on, the projection of the secondaries that, will go along with that fastball.
Yeah, I mean, we project him a year from now. He should be in that 93 to 97 on the fastball. His slider will be mid to upper 80s once he gets to our player development, and it's a plus changeup he can throw any count.
And then can you tell us a little bit about Ryan Weidman?
Yeah, sure. He's 6'5". He's an 80 runner. He'll run 4.0 down the line. He'll steal 50 bags a year. It's a real center fielder, a double plus defender in our scouts' eyes, and he's always performed. And there's still a lot of projection left to the body, and we're excited about his upside.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.
We'll go to Silas Bravo.
Hey Jay, hey Chris. Kruz had said that all he wants to do is win. He wants to help win a World Series one day. How important is that mentality and that demeanor towards building the future of a ball club?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, a lot of people talk about winning, and I think it's sometimes you talk to some of the draft prospects and they get hung up on their own individual situation. He was, he talked about he'd been a Gatorade Player of the Year. The most important thing for him this year was winning a state championship with his team, with his high school team, and you believe it the way he talks about it, and and ultimately that's what we're here for. And I think with Kruz as well, one of the best things you can do to try to win is be super prepared yourself, and he definitely is. So I think for Chris and and our group that had a chance to go up and visit him at his home, in the last few weeks. And that was a big thing they talked about is, look, we're trying to bring a championship here to San Diego. We've got a really good big league team. We've had really good farm systems here consistently. And it's all with the idea of winning championships. And that, we aligned pretty quickly on that when we started talking about what's super important to Kruz and super important to our organization.
And he talked a lot about, asked about our culture, our winning culture, and what we're going to do to bring that first championship to San Diego. And for a kid like that to be proactive, asking those type of questions really resonated with what we're about and the people we want to align with.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll go back to Kyle.
Hey, Chris and AJ. A lot of times, 6'8", long limbed kids, the coordination isn't there yet, but Cruz's, body control and athleticism really stood out. How rare is it in your guys' experience, to see a guy, this tall, this long limb, but have the delivery and body control he has?
Extremely rare. He was towards the top of our board. We've got a lot of veteran, great evaluators, great scouts in that draft room right now, and some of the comps and some of the old school names that were being comped to Kruz was a bit alarming in a good way. So yeah, it's very unique, rare package with the way he moves and his size and the feel.
And then just to follow up, obviously he has a lot of really promising physical traits. What are the main things you want to see him develop and work on as he goes through the system?
Nothing really in particular. I think it's just getting with Riley, Rada, James Keller, our pitching group, and seeing how far we can take this, and getting them in our player development program and just seeing how far this goes. I wouldn't really have one thing specifically, to be honest.
Thank you.
We'll go back to AJ.
Just to kind of, AJ, since we have you here, I just wanted your thoughts on the first half. And I know it just wrapped up today. Obviously, strong start, relatively strong finish. Your thoughts on where it leaves you going forward into the second half right now, getting a little healthier and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, from the ability to be in contention, is a good spot to be in. I think we've got obviously we've about 100 games in or so 60 games left, and I think we want to be in a spot where we're comfortably in a playoff position. I think you learn a lot about your team. We've obviously seen the bullpen do some really good things and have some dominant stretches. We've seen our position player crew, early in the season play really well as a group. And, it's been nice the last week on this homestand, some big games, some good teams that we've played against this weekend. You see a team that played in the style of baseball that we saw for the early part of the season. Getting some starting pitchers back healthy and seeing some of the younger guys come up and perform. I think those have been some of the highlights. We also understand that we've got some areas we've got to improve on, and I think we'll continue to look at that. We'll have the ability over the next couple of weeks to be involved in some trade discussions and conversations, but most of it's going to come from within. Most of it's going to come from our players that are here on the big league side playing the way we've played at different points in the season, doing that consistently for the last couple of months. it's a great coaching staff, and Schulte, his teams have a very good track record of playing their best baseball in the second half of the season. So we're looking forward to a good next couple of months at Petco.
We'll go to Marty Caswell.
Hi, AJ and Chris. Just a couple of years ago, you guys were sitting here probably talking about Jackson Merrill. What have you thought of the first adversity of his young career and how he's handled that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all players go through stretches. I think part for Jackson, this year he's had the two different injury breaks. So just that consistency of playing day in, day out. Obviously, the league is going to adjust, and he's not sneaking up on anybody. I think he's recognized throughout the league. Everywhere you go, people talk about him being an all-star caliber player, winning player, one of the top players in the league, all different adjectives, and the way people view him. So, I think it's healthy. And the biggest thing with Jackson ultimately, is he's gonna do everything he can, to get through this little stretch that he's been through, and he's gonna be better for it. He's gonna be, he'll be in a spot where he understands what he needs to do as a player hitter. I think we've already seen him make some adjustments in the last week or so, and I think we're looking forward to having a big second half for sure.
And to further what AJ Cassavell just asked, but how aggressive do you plan to be at this deadline? You mentioned that you think that the options are from within, but looking outside, how aggressive do you expect to be?
Yeah, it's hard to tell every year. I mean, I think it's I think we have a good feel for our team and where some of the holes may be and some of the areas we can try to supplement. But it's hard to make moves. And at the end of the day, we'll weigh out what we have in the system. We'll weigh out, the cost of making certain moves. And every deadline's been a little bit different. So it's kind of hard to predict that. There's a lot of teams in contention this year. There's a lot of teams that, even if they're below 500 or just a few games out of the wild card. So we'll see how the market shapes up. I think like with the draft where it is now, it's there's not a lot of activity. Last year we were able to make a move or a couple of moves before the All-Star break, but for the most part, it's kind of focused on the draft. We've got a long night tonight, getting ready for day 2 of the draft, and getting used to this new day 2 versus day 2 and 3 version. And then you immediately turn on to the trade deadline, literally starting on Wednesday. So we'll be prepared. Our group was, we'll be prepared with what's out there and what's available on the market. And we'll see if we line up on some things that help our team.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go to Sam Kirk.
Hey guys, how's it going? I was just wondering, when you guys were on that home visit with Kruz, was there anything that stuck out specifically, maybe that you weren't going into that meeting kind of expecting? I know big, tall, lanky lefty, but were there certain things that stuck out to you guys who were like, this is the type of guy we want in our clubhouse going forward?
Yeah, when he started talking about how important it was to win the first state championship ever at his high school and how much that meant to him, he didn't really talk about the accolades or the draft or, I want to do this or that. It was all about the team. And then when we went through kind of our player development manual and kind of what we're about on the player development side and how he gravitated to what we're about, and we were just really aligned mentally. And, you go into these in-home visits, you never know how it's going to really shake down. And we were just really, really aligned with Kruz and everything he was talking about from a team aspect.
And just all in all, how hard is it to kind of balance a lot of these things going on, the trade deadline approaching, now at the draft? Is it just a lot to handle, just being able to, try to right the ship heading into the break now as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's the, the baseball calendar. It's, at the end of the day, it's 162 games. It's a marathon. It's definitely, it's every day you're looking to try to get better and improve. It's an active time with the draft at the frame it is right now, in terms of, the draft used to be in early June. Then you'd have 7 or 8 weeks to kind of evaluate your system and then get into a trade deadline period. Now it's a little bit more, you get into the draft and then turn right around into the deadline. But, it's an exciting time. It's super fun. Today is a great day. And again, we feel like we got one of the better talents in the draft. And we're very excited.